Elden Ring's most used mechanics are a trap? What?
There are so many mechanics most people don't engage with because the game really doesn't do a good job at explaining them. But
Like
trust
what?
me, using just one of these can make your journey so much more enjoyable and way less painful.
Okay.
Rolling is bad. We learned that
See, I tell you guys this, like, we learned that from my DLC run. So true.
jumping is useful more than 2 years ago when Zali made a video on it. So recently, my curiosity got the best of me, making me test every single attack in the game. My god, to see which ones can be jumped over, and as cliche as it might sound, you won't believe some of these. Okay, hand. But why would you want to jump instead of rolling anyways? Rolling has immunity frames and jumping doesn't, after all. Let's take Tree Sentinel as an example. Most of us have fought Tree Sentinel and felt like the second phase attacks are just a little unfair. He jumps and slams into the ground, which creates a shockwave, so you need to dodge 2 hitboxes in total if you want to roll into it up close. You need to roll late enough to iframe the shield and still have iframes left for the shockwave, which is
Yeah, I knew it was bullshit somehow. Alright, yeah.
brutal. You don't have that many iframes. But if you jump, you don't get hit. Even better, it gives you the opportunity for the fan favorite jumping heavy attack, which does a ton of health damage and stance damage. And jumping also consumes less stamina than rolling. When you jump, your lower body becomes immune to damage. That includes the legs and even part of the stomach, but not the hands hanging off to the side. The immunity starts pretty much immediately, even when you're still visually on the ground, and lasts 60 frames, which is a whole second, compared to 26 frames on a roll. It starts faster, it lasts longer, which means you can dodge some attacks way too early or extremely late and still get away with it. There are a ton of attacks.
No way. Oh my god!
There are a ton of attacks that you can jump over. Some more useful than others, but a rule of thumb is that if the attack hits low to the ground, you can probably jump over it.
Yeah.
Not every attack is worth it though, so here are some examples of actually useful examples. Pretty much every AoE, which includes Radagon, Godric,
the triple slam,
Radahn,
I didn't know you could do. Oh yeah, I did know that one.
Godfrey.
I didn't know that one. I did know this one.
Fortis
I didn't know that one. I did not know this one. Did not know that one. Did not know this.
Watchdog. And
did not know that. Did not know that.
You can do this really cool dodge on Margit, where you jump over his hammer when he goes into phase 2, and then walk behind him and jump the AoE. A majority of Godric's attacks can be jumped. Shocker there. And then walk behind him and jump. Do this really cool dodge on Margit, where you jump over his hammer when he goes into phase 2, and then walk behind him and jump the AoE. A majority of Godric's attacks can be jumped. Shocker there.
So jump attacks were more meta than I ever thought. Oh my god. What?
You can jump over Elden Beasts and Rykard's sword swings and even thrust attacks, although those are really hard to do. You can dodge.
No way. What's... I want to see the frame on that. I mean, it doesn't hit him. Oh my god.
Those are really hard to do. You can dodge Melania's grab and thrust attack by jumping to the side. Margit and Morgot's tail swipes are really easy to jump. Godskin Noble's ground slam is usually very annoying to time, but can easily be jumped. Grave Warden allows for some very flashy jumps because of how weird his hitboxes are. Red Wolf's second swing and spin attacks can be jumped, which is cool. The Malekith dodge is just too fun to not do.
Bro, no wonder jump attacking was so good. This is insane.
Crucible Knights have a lot of attacks that can be dodged.
Yeah, I know that one. That's easy. Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Is this one. There are 2 attacks that can be jumped on Black Knives.
Yeah, that's the one
and there are a lot of attacks you can jump away from rather than over, like these. Keep an eye out for attacks that you can jump over in the DLC. The previews made it seem like jumping will be a big part as well. And pro tip, if you jump in quick succession, the follow-up jumps will be tiny little baby jumps, but if you guard while jumping, you can prevent that from happening. Trust me.
That means if you're blocking while jumping, see? There it is. So rolling is actually, so blocking is the best option, jumping is the second best option, and rolling is the worst thing you can do. Oh my god.
Nothing feels as good as guard jumping up a slope. You are so fast. Strafing is another alternative to rolling that you should always consider. If an enemy does a slow overhead or a thrusting attack, you
Just
can
walk
usually
around them.
sprint or walk to the side and avoid it.
Yeah, this is an insane thing. Like, fighting this dude, all you have to do is walk to the side, and he misses like a third of his attacks. Like, it's actually crazy, because I learned a lot of this by playing with a shield, and just, like, moving around just to see what would happen. And yeah, it's insane how many of these you can just miss the attack on. Strafing is busted on some bosses? Yeah, it is. Like, how many of you guys cheese, like, a lobster by, like, getting on, like, its back foot and just, like... And it's dead. And it's trying to... And you're like... And it's dead, right? Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
Which consumes next to no stamina
works.
and doesn't lock you in any sort of animation, meaning you have a larger window to punish. It
Yep.
also looks badass. I mean, look at this, dude.
It does.
The only problem is that some of the best strafes require being locked off instead of looking at the boss. Locking on in general is a clever little trap FromSoft baits everyone into using chemtrails. While you are locked on, you can only move based on the boss's position. Holding left while locked on will make you walk circles around the boss, and while locked off, you can freely walk to the left. You see how severely that limits your movement? This is why locking off is genuinely a chat move. In some cases, it even breaks bosses completely, and in Sekiro, locking off and attacking with the tip of your blade made it so that
yeah, we saw
enemies
this
couldn't parry,
earlier.
which kind of defeats the purpose of the whole game. I won't go too much into detail since it's pretty advanced, but there are some easy attacks anyone can use it on, like Millennia's flower attack. Just lock off, walk around her, take a little jog, and
Yeah,
she will
this
miss
is this is the one that everybody knows this one.
you, which, my god, it looks so stupid.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you can take away from this, is that you shouldn't be locked on if a boss is above you. It's just going to give
I learned that many times in a row.
you a headache and even limit you from going right under the boss. Which one of these do you think will do more damage? An unupgraded Holy Mace or a plus 13 broadsword? This is obviously just an extreme example, but knowing the enemy's weaknesses can easily add a little bit of extra damage, which adds up quickly. In the case of those who live in death, aka the undead enemies, an unupgraded mace with Sacred Blade is literally all you need for the entire game. Combine it with Last Rite, and you can't even tell the mace has not been upgraded once. Bonus points for Sacred
Jesus.
because it makes it so that skeletons die for good. I highly recommend having one of these with you. Upgrade it as high as possible, but don't stress it. I mean, plus 10 is probably more than enough, but you can also get it higher, obviously. And bring golden
God damn.
epitaphs for anything undead. You
Holy counter
really
stuff.
won't
I didn't even
regret it.
know that.
The rule of thumb is that when fighting flesh, you want to use slash and fire. When fighting light armor, you want to use piercing and lightning. And when fighting heavy armor, you
Dragons usually take extra damage from lightning too. Like dragons do. That's what I usually try to use that.
want to use blunt and, well, lightning.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with the lightning. Anything dead or spectral.
If you're fighting mobs with high armor, like, you know, like those guys that are like crystalline guys that, like, if you hit them, your weapons bounce off, like in the mines, those are the ones you want to use hammers for. And like the crystalline guys too.
is weak to holy. Basically nothing is weak to magic, other than maybe imps. And all of the status effects are obviously really good. For the worst case scenarios like Elden Beast, where there really is no weakness at all, just use Godslayer Flame. It deals percentage damage, so even a plus 0 dagger can do thousands of damage to NG plus Elden
Jesus.
Beast. Pretty cool.
Jesus.
But not just elemental damage matters. Special weaknesses are just as important. So here's some examples. Fasten your seatbelts, boys. You are about to be mind blown. Deathbirds are extremely vulnerable to holy pass. Watchdogs Deathbirds are extremely vulnerable to Holy Pass. Watchdogs go mad if hit by enough crystal darts, which can make the double Watchdog fight a walk in the park. You can bait this combo and jump over the third swing every time, or parry it, for an easy kill. Big flowers start wailing when hit with fire, and can be slapped pretty easily. Birds fall over when hit with gravity spells. Land octopus can have their arms cut off one by one to make them swim harmlessly. Land squirts explode when hit with poison. Trolls stun if
What? Why? That's I had no idea.
shot in the face and start covering the face afterwards. Flame
Oh, I did know this one.
chariots can be executed Sekiro style.
Yep, I knew this one.
Everyone knows that.
But hey, real quick. If you do this, run the fuck away from it. Because if you don't, it blows up and it will kill you. Yeah, it fucking explodes if you do this execute.
From above. Everyone knows that.
I
healing
learned that
spells kill
myself.
Revenants. Pumpkin heads can be put to sleep to avoid having to deal with the helmet mechanic altogether. And you can also parry the fist attack, but not the weapon attacks. I have no idea why, but it feels really cool to do. These guys are weak to lightning in a very weird way, where they will always stagger after 5 hits of lightning, no matter the source. Glintstone blades kill the invisible scarabs for you. Giant lobsters
They aim... That's nuts.
are also weak to sleep. Finger creepers become incapacitated by fire. Barricade shield
I learned that. I remember I watched S-Fan do it, and then I did it myself. That's crazy.
makes the Misbegotten look very pathetic. And it's honestly a really good
Wait, what?
Barricade shield makes the Misbegotten look very pathetic. And it's honestly a really good Ash of War in general.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's pretty good. I say that.
For anything if you got counter. Falling Star Beasts and Astel take a lot of extra damage from gravity weapons and equipment. The Stormblade Ash of War goes really hard for imps and birds in early game. I might have even forgotten some. It goes without saying that the same applies to you though. Who do you think is tankier? Armor Boy or Naked Man? Let's imagine that Godric is Mesmer for a second. I know this is very insulting to Mesmer, but whatever. Without any equipment, his fire breath hits pretty hard. With one of the best armor sets in the game, it doesn't do nearly as much, but in comparison to wearing no armor and using the right buffs, it's insane. It basically just tickles me. And all I used was flame-resistant talismans and a flame liver. I can still light roll. Mesmer will do a lot of fire damage, just saying. Generally, I would always have 2 defense talismans. The Dragon Crest is pretty much always useful because there's a...
This is a base 20%, I think. It's 15 or 20%. This is a crazy reduction. And then you have the Opaline Tier, you have the crab shit.
A lot of physical damage in the entire game. And the second slot is whatever element you're up against. Then at 60 Vigor, I recommend the Crimson Sea Talisman, but that's mostly personal preference. And the 4th slot is for damage. Trust me when I say, after seeing the previous stuff, that this is not over-preparing. Shit hits hard. Stealth is criminally underrated. I made a whole video on it, but to summarize the most important message, use Assassin's Gambit. This Ash of War is beyond broken. You give up a tiny bit of health for a 30-second buff that entirely mutes your footsteps and makes you nearly invisible, similar to social anxiety. Not only can you skip groups of enemies if they're too tough or start a fight with a heavy attack to the back of someone's head, also similar to social anxiety, but you can also straight up cheese some bosses and make them look like they're from Dark Souls 2. For example, if you use it before going into the Crucible Duo arena and quickly throw a sleep pot high to the back right, then crouch sprint along the left wall, you can fight one of them at a time. I know this is kind of complicated, but it's
This is some real bullshit, man. This is some ABC, boys. That's right.
absolutely worth it. Oh, for Godskin Duo, just use it before reaching the middle of the arena and then
walk you if anybody's seen a speedrun, like
forward to toss 2 sleeping pots between them. Just look at these idiots. It's also nice to sneak behind this dickhead for 2 charged heavy attacks before the fight even starts. Or, my favorite, it's possible to cheese Ofni by following the setup 1-for-1. He deserves it, please do it.
He's throwing shit pies at him. Does it...
And all you have to do is Volcano Manor's first hunting quest, and then Banal will sell the Ash of War. Get it as early as possible and put it on a rapier. Or if he's dead, just go to his sword in Volcano Manor. I bet you didn't know that, because I didn't. Crafting is actually...
I didn't know that either until I had to learn that in order to remove the Ash of War from the fingerprint shield, and then I took... it took me about an hour to figure it out. It did. I tried resetting it. I tried looking it up. Yep, it took a long time.
So pork, and people are missing out on it. Every consumable has a distinct use. Pots can do some crazy damage and offer a ton of utility, like cancelling Melania out of the waterfall or cheesing her second phase. You can...
This is nuts. People don't know this. Like, you don't even need to do the fucking mechanics. This, in my opinion, is like, this is why Elden Ring is a good game, by the way. This is why it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest game of all time. Is because, like, knowledge is power. It is your best secondary stat, man. It does a poor job of explaining? Yeah, I know.
Ball or cheesing her second phase, you can throw around status effects and finish enemies or bosses from a safe distance. The bubble perfumes are extremely strong, allowing you to survive any attack, no matter how strong or how much damage it deals, up to 10 times a fight. The Spark Aromatic does excellent damage at low stats, and the Poison one procs the strongest version of poison in the entire game. Throwing knives can be used to bait out a single enemy at a time, or in combination with Assassin's Gambit, to bait enemies away from somewhere or near a cliff, but they can also be used
Jesus.
to ping the enemies or bosses every so often and reset the posture bar to keep it from going back up. And the boluses and livers often and reset the posture bar near a cliff, but they can also be used to ping the enemies or bosses every so often and reset the posture bar to keep it from going back up. And the boluses and livers are just amazing for survival. Guard counters are a mechanic I didn't use for hundreds of hours, but it's so...
I was the same way. Whenever I first learned with guard counter and how shields worked in the game, it was like I just unlocked my third eye. Like, I can see, like, all the matrix and, like, the coding behind the game, and I'm just like, okay, I win.
So fun to do and will be
guard
even
counter
better
is so
on the
good.
DLC. If you can...
Well, it does as much posture damage, basically, as a charged heavy attack. That's what makes guard counter really good. It's not even a damage, it's the posture damage that it does.
Use torrent in a boss fight, then do it. Chances are the fight is designed around it. As much as I like badass one-on-ones on the ground, horseback fighting a dragon has become just as fun. Really, the lesson to learn from me being hesitant to use some of these mechanics for hundreds of hours is to just use everything. Even spirit ashes if you feel like it. Just have fun.
That's what we're gonna do.
There's no shame in any of it. Some of the best ashes of war are severely underrated, and you absolutely need to be using them for the DLC. Vow of the Indomitable gives you a whole second of complete invulnerability, and can be used for attacks like Godfrey's Shockwave or Rakat's Earthquake. And with good enough timing, you can even negate Waterfall. Stormblade is one of...
Damn it, man. I should have known that.
Good enough timing, you
That's
can even negate
awesome.
Waterfall. Stormblade is one of the best Ashes of War early on and costs little to no FP. Phalanxes do incredible posture damage and can be used without even attacking to stagger a dragon in 3 casts and then do actual damage. And Flaming Strike is extremely good and you really should be using it. The Lance Ashes of War are also really good for hitting dragon heads. All of the mechanics I talked about in this game combined allow you to do something like this. If you understand everything I'm doing here, then you're ready for the DLC. Lastly, and this might be a tiny bit of spoilers, but not really, make sure to explore first if the DLC is giving you a lot of trouble. Or probably in general, even if it isn't.
Bro, what a fucking this is amazing. What a video. This is insane. Yeah, I'm gonna link you guys the video.
Blessings and increase your defenses to significantly help with the ridiculous
I had no
amount of
idea
damage
about
everything
this
will
shit.
do. And bring a lantern. It's dark in the shadows.
It sure is. Like, I feel good that I knew about 20% of this. Oh my god. Don't you perceive knowledge to yourself? Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people, like, yeah, this is nuts. What the fuck? There's the video. Give it a like, man. That's nuts. I've never watched this guy's video. I've never seen a video from him before. So, like, what the fuck? That is so useful. And also, he went through all these in 10 minutes. That's nuts. Power of reading your weakness? Well, I just assume it's bad, right? That's it. Thank you for linking it. Yeah, absolutely. This is crazy good. Oh my god. I'm like I'm honestly just kind of in shock, to be honest.